Hopefully I kept track of all this. Okay.
We did pretty good the other night, or Malia, you did well the other night.
Oh, thank you.
We got some work through.
Yeah,
House,
I won't go there. I'm so frustrated.
It's
but
a tough crowd.
Your fault. That's just
No,
no
you
one's
got
fault.
2 out of 3, right?
What?
You got 2 out of 3, I think.
Yeah, but we
got
didn't get
the
the
2
one we've
new
been
ones
working
in,
on
and we
for
got
like
the
over a year,
replacement
so I'm
out.
really frustrated. I just want to get that one done. That's
so
okay.
Close. No, I thought it was a good job.
So, are we ready, Ed? Are we
He already said he put it on YouTube.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Didn't hear that part. I'm sorry. Okay then. The first thing is that I need someone who's willing to take minutes, because I think Linda is here, but she may be leaving us early. So is there anyone else willing to take minutes of the meeting?
I have never taken minutes. If you would like me to try.
Well, there's a template. I don't know if you saw that. It's kind of complicated, but there's a template in the meeting invitation that says minutes.
Yeah, I don't mind doing it.
Okay. Thank you, Brett.
I don't mind doing
And
it. You just have to ask
remind,
Randy access Krista to the files. But yeah, there's a draft agenda in the meeting invite.
Yeah. Okay, there we are.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I mean, you don't have to use that either, but it's just a framework. It has
so you
all
might
the,
not
like,
be able to see me. I might be, I only have one screen. So
okay.
that's all. If you don't see me, I'm just typing.
And you do need 4 for a quorum, so just, if it does have to leave.
We do have 4 right now. So,
so then I should just let you know that I can be here for an hour and then I'll need to head out.
Okay. Well, we'll get started and we'll see where we land. And we have another meeting in, a week, I think, or 10 days. I don't remember, after a break. So we'll get through what we can. We'll just keep plugging away at it. I didn't officially call it to order. Sorry. So I'll officially call it to order. I'll make it 7:04. So the meeting, who's going to take minutes counts. Sorry for that. Asima did write me and tell me she probably would not be here. So she asked me if I could jump in once again. It is still Ramadan and she's still breaking fast around this time. So hopefully you all don't mind. But so the first thing on the agenda is the approval of the April 5th minutes. I will entertain a motion.
So moved. Oh, is Brad okay?
Second.
Brett, are you good?
I need to request access to the agenda to edit. I don't have the edit permissions.
Oh.
Thought I had edit permissions, like I said.
Okay.
No, hold on. It's kind.
You have it now, Brett. I just gave it to you. So if you want to refresh.
Awesome. Yeah, let me refresh.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm good to go. Thank you.
You're good?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So did you get the motion and the second, or do we need to do it again? It was Linda.
Or summarize it again. Sorry.
Linda and Krista.
Linda and Krista. Okay. Approval.
And then I will do a roll call vote to approve the minutes of April 5th. I'll just go in order that I see you all. Krista?
Yes.
Linda?
Woodland, yes.
Brett?
No, really slow. 2 screens. I vote yes.
And I vote yes.
All right.
Okay, so the minutes are approved. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the continued policy review. The first one is the gender identity policy. Oh, hello, Linda.
Sorry, I'm late.
Don't worry. We're going to have a abbreviated meeting perhaps anyways, but we'll get through what we can. Okay. So the first one is the gender identity policy, which is still with us. Hopefully the correct policy will be sent out ahead of the next school committee meeting. The other question that I'd asked, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, my brain, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, it's been a long day. Okay. So
Okay.
yes, yes, Deputy Director Daly to look into, was the question that came up about whether it's the second reading or the first reading. And I don't know if we have an answer to that yet.
We do. We reached
do.
out to Attorney Bartulis, and he let us know that it can be read for a second time, like we were planning to do on the 11th. And then if it does get approved, it would say amendment to second reading.
Okay,
It
great.
doesn't need a third.
Thank you. So if it gets approved, then it's correct. Did he happen to put that in writing?
He put it in an email to Randy.
Okay, great.
I'm not sure if it would be, I'll talk to Randy and Daryl about what they might want to
I
either
don't know
put
if
on
we
the
need-
agenda for the
I
next
don't know
school
if we
committee
need
or
to
just say.
share it with everyone. I'm sorry, there's a delay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I apologize. I was just saying I'll talk to Randy and Daryl if they want to include it in their packet or just,
Okay.
maybe Daryl would put it in his superintendent's report. He got this.
Yes. And I
Right.
didn't want to, I mean, I don't think we need to necessarily send it out to everyone, but it did come up. And I think being able to have that to refer to in writing or to quote in some way, if it comes up again, I think we need to answer that question. If Daryl answers it, that's great. If I need to answer it and say, we've done this and read a statement, that's fine too. Or I can just summarize. We just need to, I think if we have it available to read if necessary, that's helpful because it sounded like some people may question that and not believe that the attorney said such. So I don't know where we go with that, but I'm happy to have it available if necessary. I would hate to have this not pass because of that. So I just want to be prepared. Thank you.
I
for
think that
getting
makes
answer.
sense. I think that's wise.
Okay. Thank you for getting that answer so quickly. I appreciate it. Okay. Is there any other discussion on that? Okay. I'm hearing none. So we will go on to the non-discrimination pupil services policy 6631A. The note that I had on that was that it should remain in place from our last meeting with our, I cannot talk with the attorney, but the question was just whether we needed to tweak any of the language as we were looking at the different classes of protected status and making sure it aligns with other district documents. Jane, go ahead.
So what I did do is I looked at the policy 1000 that we worked on last time. That was a new policy. And I looked at the different protected classes in that, and I compared it to this language. So what was missing in this language was age, immigration status, pregnancy or pregnancy status, and homelessness. So whether or not you want to put those in here, but I just thought it was helpful to try to point out the differences between this policy and policy 1000.
Okay, I see Linda Longbelial has raised her hand as well.
So I'm wondering if policy 1000 supersedes this. Because doesn't that describe all the discrimination? Doesn't that sort of encapsulate or encompass, or whatever the right word is, all of our discrimination policies in one policy? Do we still need this?
I have a notice from, I printed off the note that Attorney McAvoy had sent previously about our policies, and it said policies to maintain include non-discrimination pupil services and non-discrimination on the basis of disability pupil services. It said he said the non-discrimination policy should be maintained because it sets out the overarching non-discrimination mandate.
Oh, all right.
His opinion. I guess
All
there's a legal basis for both, he said.
Okay, all right. I'm down with it. I like it. I like to have it match the policy 1000 as well.
Yes, it definitely should. And I think, I'm trying to remember if we had a question about renumbering it or if we were keeping it.
I keep hearing a funny noise. I don't know if someone needs to mute or something.
Oh, maybe
I
it's
think
me.
It's
I'll
gone
mute.
now.
Okay. Oh, Jane, go ahead.
Jane?
No, I'm sorry. That was from before. I just put it down. I apologize.
Malia, you're on mute.
Oh, geez. I'm sorry. This is a fun night. I'm going to blame the weather. So I think it needed to match, but I think if I recall, there was some question about the overall, there's a has a statement as well. Is that correct, Jane? And you wanted to make sure it was in line with other district documents?
Well, we have an anti-discrimination language that's on letterhead and in official places, like in the student handbook and such.
You're right.
And I did reach out to Matt McAvoy on that. And he said that if that's, what DOE approved, which it is, we can leave that as is in those different places.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily have to match this exactly.
Okay, that's great, because I remember that was something else that was a question. So, okay. DOE has their own mind, so we'll go with that and not complicate things.
Well, it's very similar. And,
Okay.
as any policy, if we make any changes to this one, I would, definitely want Attorney McAvoy to review it because I want to make sure all those legal references are correct too. I know we just updated a whole bunch and I just want to make sure they're aligned. So I'd ask him to do that part of it too.
Okay, so we're not sure if the legal references are aligned. We still need to get that checked.
I just remember when we just did this last meeting in the other policy, remember there were quite a few we kind of deleted. And I'm wondering if these are the same. I just think he should take a second.
Okay. So let me ask, does anyone have any objection to the words that were added to bring it in line with the other policy 1000? Does anyone have other discussion on that?
Nope.
Okay. Second question, did we, I don't recall, so you can tell me I'm wrong, but does anyone recall the numbering? Did we discuss changing the numbering of this one, or did we plan to keep it the same? If no one recalls, we'll just leave it, but I honestly don't recall.
I don't recall either.
I don't recall.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't recall.
All right. Then we will leave that for now. We can always change it later if we want. Okay. And then the legal references, we would like to have Attorney McAvoy double check them before we finalize this. So I guess my question is, Linda, go ahead.
Sorry, just looked at the minutes we just approved from last week and our last time, and it does say under new business to look. I think I might have. I transposed the numbers on the minutes. 6613, but it's 6631. Policy
Okay.
related to people services, etc. To renumber as 1010. Policy for operations, non-discrimination.
Okay, so I
That
wasn't
makes sense.
imagining it.
That
Okay,
makes sense.
all right, that does make sense. Okay, so we need to renumber it as policy 1010. Thank you for that. Does anyone have any objection to that?
No.
Okay. So then the only thing I'm seeing that we have to still have reviewed before we bring it to the full committee is to make sure the legal references are correct. So we have two options. We can approve it or approve a recommendation to bring it to the full committee as we have it written, assuming that the legal references are approved or are, correct. Or we can wait until our next meeting after the attorney has reviewed it and do that then. Linda?
I think may as well go for it now. So what I would say, if you're willing, I'd make a motion. I would like to
Go ahead. I'm not
move
making motions, so.
So I move to recommend amended policy 1010, policy relating to people services, non-discrimination, for adoption by the full committee pending legal review.
I second that.
Do you want me to type it in the chat, Brett, to help with the minutes?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Can we have a second?
I got a pretty good idea, but
Okay.
pretty close.
While he types, I'll ask, does anyone have any further discussion on the question?
I do think
you
that
guys
I don't
can't
see
hear
the
the
Americans
chat.
with Disabilities Act cited, so I do think that, unless I'm missing something, which I could, but I don't think I see it unless if you scroll down a little bit, Malia.
Oh, it's not my screen.
ACA, AC, yeah. I don't see the ADA cited, and it should be.
Okay. It's been a little while since this one was reviewed, so we can have I cannot talk today. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on with that. We can, oh, sorry. I just typed something on it. Ignore that. Yes.
Linda, could you send that through the chat? You probably didn't hear me. Yep. Perfect. Thank you.
It was last amended in 2019, so it certainly is logical to, we're supposed to review them every couple of years because laws change. So, all right. So, if there's no further discussion, then I will go ahead and vote on that motion. We'll take a roll call vote. I just need to see everybody. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. Krista, did you have a question?
No, you said you needed to see everybody.
Oh, no, I don't need to actually physically see everyone. I couldn't see you the way my screen was. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was my mess. Okay. Yes, that is correct. We need to change policy related to people services to policy for operations. So then the motion is amended to be, how should we amend it? Okay, I'm trying to think. Should we put to recommend amended policy 1010 policy relating to, thank you. That's good.
I had said it that way. I typed it wrong.
Okay. Should we also state former policy number so people have a reference? Or should we leave that out and just explain it?
No, we should put former policy.
Okay. So that needs to be in there too then. It doesn't need to be on the actual document, but it needs to be in the motion probably.
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. Because once it's passed, the old policy
Bruh.
won't be there.
Can you come close my door? Come here.
We all understand. Okay. So the motion is this correct the way it's written? Okay, thank you. The amended motion is to recommend amended policy 1010, policy for operations, non-discrimination, former policy 6631, policy relating to people services, non-discrimination, for adoption by full school committee pending legal review. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And we have a motion and a second.
Yes.
And so then now I will take a vote. Okay. Linda Longleel,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Krista,
Yes.
Linda, Woodland,
Woodland, yes.
and I will vote yes. So thank you. So then we have that for the next school committee meeting pending legal review. Jane, are you able to communicate that with Attorney McAvoy for his review? Okay, thank you for that. And then, yes, and then it will get on the agenda hopefully for the next school committee, assuming there's no major changes. Hopefully, cross our fingers. Okay. The next policy is, thank you. All right. As I said, my document's a little screwed up today. The next policy is, someone have a hand? Yes, Jane.
No, you
No
go.
hand yet.
I
Okay,
just wanted
all
to
right.
explain a little bit of what I did. So this policy was the one that Matt McAvoy shared with us all with changes at our last meeting, and it had red lines and strike throughs. So I kind of went through it, took the original policy and did it with the yellow highlight and strike throughs like we normally do. That goes to school committee. I just thought it was easier to read and for you to talk about. So this is exactly what Matt did. It just looks a little bit different. That's all because of the color.
Okay. Thank you for that. So this is policy 6437.1, non-discrimination on the basis of disability, pupil services, which we just passed last fall. But according to Attorney McAvoy, as he reviewed it, which is interesting because they had reviewed it in the fall, but according to him, there were a couple language changes that correspond with the current language even since the fall. Adding specifically, I believe, adding the section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 in several places. Well, you can see the highlighted portions, but basically, I mean, I can read them all if you'd like, but I think basically it looks like he just was clarifying the language to bring it in line with the current legal policies, which makes sense to me as it takes time sometimes for legal policies to evolve and language to sort itself out after things are implemented. So if this is what they've settled on, I don't know if anyone has questions, if you want to take a minute to read it and see if there's anything you'd like to discuss well, maybe we should go paragraph by paragraph. So we'll look at the first paragraph and see if there's anything we want to discuss there.
It seems to me that, he does add section 504 and he explicitly adds employment opportunities, et cetera. And he strikes language that maybe is not completely necessary there, I think is what he does. I do remember we discussed this last fall and that it was reviewed by legal, but I think it was reviewed by Attorney Bartulis. And I think between us, I have a feeling that Attorney McAvoy might have a slightly deeper understanding on this
Of
topic.
this.
So,
This is
yeah.
his specialty area. I think
Yeah.
he's consulted on these policies for a long time.
Yeah, yes. So I think his knowledge might be just a bit more extensive on this particular
Yeah.
issue. So,
I know he also works a lot. Yes, he works a lot with special education as well and
Mhm.
disability rights. So he has a lot of,
Mhm.
yeah, I think he's more connected to this area. So, okay. Does anyone else have any thoughts on these changes on the first paragraph? I think they make sense to me. It seemed like the parts that were crossed out are things that are like additional information that are kind of redundant. Because if you're enacting the policy, those things would be implied and true. So I think it simplifies things. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the second paragraph where it says definition.
I'm sorry, you can hear our cat in the background. I apologize.
I love kitties. It's all good.
So,
We've had dogs and cats. That's the fun of Zoom or Google or whatever. So
I have a question about this, the definition. I'm sorry about the cat. I don't know.
no,
Oh, he wants to get into my son's room. That's what it is. He wants our son. That's
okay.
his favorite. So anyway, so, oh, brother.
Don't worry. We're fine. I can hear
I
you.
think Ben's getting up to get him now, I hope. Hang on, I'm going to shout to Ben. Hang on. Oh, okay. He's getting him now. Okay. So he says an otherwise qualified individual determines through an individualized team process, by which I assume he means the IEP team, to have a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits or one or more major life activities. I mean, my understanding of the IEP team is that they determine whether a child is, I'm trying to think of the right language, in need of educational support, or that's not the right language. And I mean, there is a separate process under the IDEA to determine whether a child has a disability for the purposes of, having an IEP, needing educational modifications. That's probably not the right word, but I've never heard of an IEP team determining whether a kid has, a disability under the ADA.
Right.
So I'm sorry to say this, but I have a question about this that I'd like to hear his thoughts on.
Don't apologize. We haven't looked at this revised version. Totally fine. It's a new discussion. Okay. I see Linda Woodland next.
So I wonder if this is a combination of looking at the employment policies and the pupils services policies, and that combination that is starting to happen here, because I'm just looking at this otherwise qualified individual and then looking at the team process. It seems like there might be a lot of compression happening going back to that first paragraph where it includes employment opportunities. And so I would like further review before moving forward on these changes.
Okay.
Of the definition paragraph for sure, but kind of the whole. I would want to know an explanation of if this is condensing employment rules along with education.
Employment rules along with yeah. And the IEP team certainly wouldn't determine whether someone would have a physical or mental impairment under the ADA for employment purposes. That definitely would not be their job.
Right.
So,
Because I think that's very valid because I was reading, but it's a question I had when I was reading this in more detail. It seems like the policy we had was overarching, so it wasn't really getting into the definitions of things in terms of IEP process because it's not the IEP process because there's a whole set of documents for that.
Right.
This
Yep.
was an overarching, we're not going to discriminate, period.
Right.
And I think he may have added the section 504, obviously to comply with the law.
Right.
Because I think I remember him saying something about that. But when you do that, this next part seems like a jump. Because again, 504 can apply to anyone working or academically. But I don't think this was an academic policy per se. I think it was more of initially.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a discussion that we should have with them in terms
I
of
have
sorting that out.
a question on that. So,
Yes.
or I guess maybe a statement. I don't know, but I don't think that the IEP team is determining the physical or mental impairment. I think they're
Right.
determining if it is a limitation.
No, I don't. I think they don't have the
Yeah.
right to determine either one. I don't think, honestly.
No, I think what
It's-
Krista might be saying is they determine what, I don't know, teachings or additional aids a particular child or student would need to overcome whatever learning disability they have.
They
Like,
determine if it needs to be changed to access the curriculum.
Right.
If you
Right.
need to have any
Yeah.
accommodations to or specialized instruction to access curriculum.
Right. Exactly.
yeah.
Which
So
is
is that what we're
different.
trying to say here?
Yes.
That-
I think that's what this is probably supposed to be saying here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I don't know. I'd like to hear him explain it. Explain
Or
his
I guess
thinking.
it's supposed to be defining an individual with a qualified individual with a disability, and I don't think that needs to include IEP team at all. Then, if that's what the definition is supposed to be.
Right. Yeah.
Lynn, that's how I interpreted our original policy, and then I do see you, Linda. So I will give you a second, in just a second. I interpreted our original policy that is now marked up as applying overall to all of our operations as an umbrella policy, whether it's students or staff, or it talks about applicants like job applications in the bottom paragraph, and that we would not discriminate. That's different than saying we will provide FAPE and all the things that go under the IEP process, but it's something we probably need to sort out. Linda Woodland.
So I would suggest that we pass over this review until we can speak with Attorney McAvoy or get his opinion on what the goal was of these revisions, and to have a chance to look at our policies under the education heading, because I wonder if the IEP process or that portion of it might fit under what the Ed Sub has been reviewing over the years. I'm not sure without going there and looking. So I think at this point, I don't know how much progress we can make without both hearing from the attorney and doing that background research. So I would
Absolutely
ask that we move on to the next policy.
I agree.
agreed.
I agree.
Yeah.
I move that we motion this. We table this discussion to a future meeting when Attorney McAvoy can be present.
Second.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other discussion on that? Okay, we'll take a vote then. Linda Longdolio,
Aye.
Brett,
Longbleal, aye.
Brett,
Yep.
Krista,
Yes.
Linda Woodland,
Woodland, yes.
and I would say yes. Okay, so we're tabling to future meeting when Attorney McAvoy can be present. Okay. All right, let's see, where does that leave us? All right. So that would wrap up the policies we've had on our ongoing agenda. The next item on the agenda is data on instances of bullying, harassment, and other behavioral infractions, which I know Brendan had planned to talk to us about at some point. And Jane, are you prepared to cover some of that? Okay, go ahead. I will turn it over to Deputy Director Daly then.
Okay, let me just pull that up. Hold on one second.
That might be where we end up based on the timing, but we'll see where we go. I'm realistic.
I was doing pretty good, like having stuff displayed, right? This one's taken me a while. I'm sorry. Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're
Go,
welcome.
go.
So what was requested on the agenda was it said data on instances of bullying, harassment, and other behavioral infractions. So what I did is I went on the DESE website, and because this is the data that gets reported each year, and I collected data for 4 years, going back to 17, 18, and then most recently would have been last year. And I pulled the data for the number of bullying incidents. And then I know you didn't ask for a threat of physical attack, but I thought maybe that would be similar to bullying in a sense. And I just was trying to look for some more data, because really what's good news is the number of bullying incidents for discipline is very low. And, you know, I think I went back 4 years because the last 2 years with COVID, obviously, I think those numbers are skewed a little bit. So
Yeah.
that's why I went back 2 years prior. But really, the numbers are very low. And the other thing was, I believe it said harassment. That's not an actual category on its own for the discipline, but there's sexual harassment. So I pulled that data. And then I just thought it would be helpful for you to see all offenses for each year. And when you compare that to the number of students we have, it's 0.02% in 2017-18 and 2018-19, and even lower in the last 2 years. This is really consistent with, oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
What's the percentage? 2.9%?
No, 0.02.
Oh, 0.02. Okay.
Yeah. Well, for those 17, 18, and 18, 19.
It's consistent with.
That's awesome.
It's consistent with, we had our site review for our coordinated program review from DESE this fall. And, you know, part of that review is looking at student discipline data. And actually that's what the gentleman from DESE really highlighted was, you know, how low our numbers were. And he was very impressed with that.
Linda Woodland.
So, I'm curious about how that lines up, like I assume at a future time, with things like the Panorama Surveys and the feelings of belonging, and those kinds of surveys that we started doing. I think like Panorama, I think the first one was 2019, maybe. I'm not sure that the district did. I could be wrong on that, but I would be curious to know, like how would you, looking at the district, want to try to get at that like culture of belonging and like teasing out where there might be areas to concentrate, like, work
Sure.
with the
Well,
students.
each school looks at their results. We as a district, you know, also reviewed the results just recently. Brendan did that before he left with the principals and summarized where we were middle of year, and then reached out individually to different schools on their data. But to make sure that help the principals to kind of look at their data for their school and see if they see any trends that they can address. But we're able to look at that across the district as a whole. And I think compared to the nation, I think that, you know, our students fare well on those surveys, and it's fairly positive results, but there's certainly pockets that you can kind of dig into deeper to see what resources you might provide. A teacher can also look at that at the individual, so they can look for their students and they can see how their class responds. And then they can even look at, individual students and see how they're responding and if they need targeted support.
Brett?
I wanted to ask if there was any discussion on if these numbers are underreported. I agree, they look really low. Is there
Yes.
what are the odds, or what any kind of is there any feelings of it actually being underreported? Do students feel comfortable coming forward or not? That's, do you have any?
Yeah, I agree with that. I just find it just doesn't seem possible to me that in a district with 7,000 kids, that we have this few of this smaller number of these kinds of offenses or disciplinary issues.
And and how does the process work? So like, if a student reports bullying and it goes like out of Central Tree and it goes to the principal, then it goes from where? How's that process work?
This is data on student discipline. So this is not the number of reports of bullying. This is the number of students disciplined because of bullying.
Interesting. Number of students.
And when you look on the Department of Ed website, I mean, the types of data they're collecting on for student discipline, there are definitions that, every district follows so that it is, to the extent possible, comparative. We have a data person, and, their job is to collect this data and report it to the state and check it for accuracy. I know Brendan said he has worked with Jay Howe and the principals in terms of making sure that the data is being reported correctly. But their incidents, there are the more serious types of incidents that
I was gonna say there's got to be a threshold that determines if
these
I
aren't
don't
like
bully, but there's discipline action required.
right.
Linda Aguilio?
Okay. Okay.
I do see you, Krista. I was just going down the list.
Oh, you came back to me?
Well, was that your comment, or did you have another comment? Your hand was
I have another comment. So I take it there must be bullying incidents where we don't take disciplinary action, and when or a disciplinary action serious enough to get on the list of things that are reported. So I guess, I mean, is it only suspensions and expulsions that are considered disciplinary actions here, or are there other things that are considered disciplinary actions? Because I could see maybe, although I still find the numbers to be low, that, if this were suspensions or expulsions, it could be this low, although I still think that's questionable. But I mean, making a kid sit in the corner, I don't know if they do that anymore. Or I don't know, the sort of more low-key classroom kinds of things that a teacher might do. Or, go sit in the principal's office for, 2 hours. I don't know. Anyway.
We don't do that. Yeah.
You get my drift.
No, I think what you're talking about is, lesser offenses. I mean, that you maybe, once there's a student, right, it's a learning experience, right? So a student makes a mistake, in most cases, depending on what type of infraction it is, the first thing is to talk with them about what happened and process it. And hopefully they're going to learn from that situation. Bullying, right, is pervasive. It's something that happens more than once and continues. So, I mean, thinking of the definition of bullying, and I know we have that in our policy and we've talked about that, and you talked about that as a group, that's a different situation.
Okay, I see. That does make sense. So this is kids who are being punished before persistent behavior rather than just a single incident.
No, I mean for bullying, and that's part of the definition of bullying, right?
Right. No, I get it. Yes. Okay.
All right, Krista?
So I guess, I guess we would have to look at at Panorama and stuff, because these are not the numbers that I was kind of hoping for. I want to know if people are, upset, not if they're getting disciplined. And so that's what I want to know is how many people are reporting incidents, how many people are saying, that things are happening, so that we can see if our policy is helping people who feel they're upset or feel like things are happening to and around them that are out of their control and making it hard for them to concentrate and be a student, right? So they can be micro aggressions that happen all the time from several different students all the time, and that person can feel incredibly uncomfortable and not feel good at school, and nobody gets disciplined for that because they're all these quote unquote micro issues, and the teacher talks to the student, and the student that said the thing goes, "Oh man, I'm really sorry that I said that," right? But then it continues, right? So we really do need to look at Panorama, and I think that we need to know the numbers of the people who are actually reporting things, and make sure that, and I know that we can't make sure that teachers aren't just brushing off things that students are reporting and saying that's not serious enough to report either. I know we can't go and say that, but
I don't know that we have data to say that. I think from all I've seen, I think our staff, our administrators take bullying very seriously. I mean, we have a policy about it. I'm not sure why we would think that.
Can I?
Oh, I mean, personally, I think that because I've seen that, like on a personal level, even with my kid, went through a bullying situation, reported that bullying situation, and then that they said that there was no evidence to that bullying situation, so nothing happened. There was no report taken. There was nothing. Nothing happened of it at all. So this. All I'm saying is, if that could happen once to my kid, it's possible that it's happening to other students as well.
Mm-hmm.
And not with ill intent, but it could be happening.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
Jane, I want to respond. I had one comment, and then I'll go back to the queue.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, well, my comment was kind of along the same lines of information. I was wondering if we've had an increase since we redid our bullying policy last year, an increase in the number of people reporting things, because I know we have an anonymous option now as well. And so I was curious this year to see the actual data and how it compares on the number of reports. But also I have had similar experiences to what Krista described, where there's a lot of things that go on in the school and you report it, but it may not get elevated from the school level to something that would show up in this DESE report. So I was more interested in the actual reports that come in, because I know we track those, and if there's a trend in schools or certain grades, or particularly interested if there was any difference this year versus past years, because we have a new policy, we have a new online reporting form now that we didn't have. We have an anonymous reporting option, which would never show up in discipline, because you can't really discipline people anonymously with anonymous reports. But I would be interested in knowing the trends in the actual reporting. So that was my question, which was related.
I'm sorry, I talked with Brendan when this was on the agenda, and we discussed what data we should pull, and
Don't
this is what
apologize. It's okay.
he suggested. I don't have access to that other data. That's data that Brendan would keep. I would assume, and unfortunately, that position right now, we don't have that person. So
That's okay.
I don't know how I can certainly reach out to him and see what we can do.
Well, I mean, this is a starting point of, it's a discussion, and it's certainly just a starting point, I think. I don't expect you to have all the data. I think this is helpful, but it also leads to other questions. So you don't need to apologize. I think that's how we get to other things. It's other layers of the onion. I see Linda Woodland has her hand up as well.
So, so that was kind of where I was going with the panorama question, was to look at, I know, one thing that I think that we might need to remember in this setting is looking at this kind of sensitive information in a public meeting. I think that we just need to remember that we are public and that this is a lot of a kind of, well, sensitive. It's emotionally fraught information for all involved, for the students, the teachers, the administrators. It's a lot of people who are all trying to get to a good ending, a good resolution, but there are a lot of fraught feelings along the way. So I think just remembering that in this setting, what we ask for, and that's what I was hoping to see, just like with the panorama, if we can in some way, in an appropriate way for this kind of a meeting, look at how panorama might intersect with bullying reports. And if anything is tracked on bullying report, if it was deemed, not enough evidence, or it was a restorative justice practice that seemed to, because that's not going to show up on the DESE discipline chart, right? If there's a different way of resolving the issue than straight up discipline, then that might help us understand if there are underreportings and drive towards a solution on what we can do to support the administration on how to provide that solution for our schools. So I don't know if that makes sense, of just trying to kind of look at it from different angles, but then also maintaining the privacy that our students and staff deserve.
I think that's very well said. Linda Longbilio.
I agree with everything that's been said, and I just wanted to add that I think it would be helpful to have the number of allegations listed per year next to the number of disciplinary incidents or disciplinary report, next to this column.
I don't know what you mean. Could you clarify?
So let's say there are, 50 allegations of bullying in 2017 and 2018. I would like to see that reported.
Bullying reports? Reports of
yes, bullying reports. Yes. So the first column would be, the student discipline report, and the second column would be the bullying reports. So you'd have 4, and then you'd have 50. Or you could have it the other way around. It could be 50, and then it could be 4. And then same thing for 2018, 2019. I would just like to see, to what extent what percentage of the reports result in a disciplinary action on this chart. That's what I'd like to see.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bye, Linda. Okay. We still have quorum. So I don't know if there's any other discussion on this particular topic. I don't know if Jane, if you have anything else to add. I know we're asking a lot. You're you're our conduit to administration right now. So it doesn't necessarily all have to fall to you, but you're a conduit at the moment. So
Yes, you're both
Um,
Jane and Brendan right now.
yeah, well, Brendan is gone as of today. So
Oh, I know, she's both. She has two personalities.
yes, she's both, exactly. So hopefully we will have the new person at our next meeting and can chat with them.
I don't think that will happen, not in 2 weeks, but,
Oh, okay. All
right? We have a meeting in 2 weeks again, but maybe the next one after that.
Okay. Great.
We
So
could
as I
certainly
said, I
reach
don't
out
know.
to Brendan. I
just-
mean, he's always very responsive, even, if he's gone to another position. And I just
Yeah.
don't know what that data exists.
If
It's not
you
something
think
that
it would be
reported to the state,
useful,
so.
please feel free and be, we'd appreciate it. But if not, then I think we also can understand that it may take some time, but at least we've had this discussion of kind of where we're starting and where we'd like to go. I know in a couple, 6 weeks or 8 weeks or so, we'll have even more data because we'll have the end of the year data. So this may be an ongoing discussion for sure. So I don't know if there are any other thoughts on this. Okay, I don't see any hands. So here's my next question. It is almost 8 o'clock. The next item on our agenda is talking about holidays, and Laura had done some work on it, but Laura is not here tonight. So I don't know if people want to continue on with the meeting, or move on to just checking in with where we are and what to pick up with the next meeting. Linda?
I'd like to just check in on where we are and then move, hold everything else to the next meeting.
Okay. I kind of sensed that tonight. It just seems that way. Does anyone else have any strong opinions? Okay. I will go with that then. So the holidays, I think we can skip over that and continue that discussion fairly straightforwardly at our next meeting, with where we are. The item number 6 is on hold until we pass the gender identity policy. So there's no discussion around that. Item number 7, DEI work for school committee members, I think is a bigger discussion, hopefully with our new SEL person, and I think that may be a bigger discussion. That's item number 7, I'm sorry. Item number 8 is reviewing policies to see if they come under our purview. Those are policies that have been mentioned previously. So they are noted for future discussion as we get to them. I don't know if there's any additional new business that anyone would like to add. Okay. We have our next meeting scheduled, although I don't have the date in front of me because I could not print my agenda. But I know it's scheduled. It's after break, I think on the Thursday, if I remember. So the
It is on the 28th.
the
Yes,
20 Thursday, the 28th
yes.
at 7 also virtually is the plan right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll still be running that or if Asima will be joining us again, but if not, I will be happy to, if she needs me to. And so is there anything else that anyone else would like to add before we adjourn? Okay, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yeah,
Can I second my own motion?
Second, sorry, I walked away. I was pacing, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. We're that stressful. Got it. No, I'm kidding.
No. Nope, I just pace. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Some people think that way. It's all good. So
I
we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Is there any discussion? Okay, I will take a roll call vote. Linda Longville,
Longbalil, yes.
Krista,
Chrissy, yes, or Bennett,
Brett?
yes, sorry.
Brett, are you with us?
Yep, feverishly typing.
Oh, sorry. Yes, good. Okay, and I will vote yes. So we are adjourned at 8:02. thank you all for your time on this lovely rainy evening. I appreciate it. And I think we got more done than we think. So I think we're making good progress. So we'll see you all on the 28th. It will be our last meeting together as a subcommittee before elections, I think. So
Wow.
hopefully it will be a good one.
Yes. Thank
So
you, Malia.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good
Take care,
night.
everyone. Thanks, Jane.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Ed, we're all set.